There you go. Now we're
This is my
talking.
son's. It's like a kid's room, but yeah.
I mean, have you take a look at my room? I don't know. It ain't no different than your son's. All right. I may be an old person, but I'm still a young kid by heart. You know. So, man, how are you, man? Thank you for coming
I'm
over
good.
to the show, man. I really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. So, man, first things first, man. Like, before we get this shindig started, can you tell us like a little bit about yourself and what you do to the audience for the people who don't know who you are?
My name is Frank Socorro, and I have been an engineer, audio engineer, for 23 years at this point. Been Grammy nominated 4 times, multi-platinum, all that fun stuff that people like to talk about. Also been an educator for, at this point, a little bit over 10 years.
Wow.
Pro Tool certified instructor, audio instructor. Yeah, studio owner, the regular stuff.
Studio owners. Wait, so you own an actual studio now? Like name and everything?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't own the entire building, but I have inside of Vanquish, there's a second room that's my room. And it's currently rented out. It's been rented out for the better part of a year now.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's somebody's camped in there, and it's cool.
I remember. I think the last time that the last time we saw each other and talked was with Ricky. Remember when Ricky came over to Vanquish and we went to that room of yours? You guys?
I don't remember. No.
It was definitely a while. It was before or during his come up as Nitty Gritty. But I know you guys were talking about a certain girl, a singer, you know, that Ricky and her should meet up and do a collaboration or work on something or whatnot. It was something like that. And then I was just I was in the corner while you guys were basically talking business and shit. I was just minding my own business in the corner on the laptop, just like, okay, I'm just.
I don't know. I wonder who that was.
And I remember it was in that Vanquish studio in the smaller room, because I remember the wall had the diffusers. And,
yeah, it's my room.
And it had like a nice little sofa, and then you were on the other side doing your stuff. So that was like, damn, I kid you not, that was almost like 5 years or so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because I remember that at that time when we left, there was some people that were getting in to the studio. Like, I'm pretty sure there were some rappers or something like that. And then you just basically introduced us to them, and everybody's just exchanged information after that.
I don't even remember that. Yeah, I mean, I'm old, so I forget things now. So,
hey,
and sometimes people are like, hey, remember? And I'm like, nope, but I believe you. It sounds like it happened. I don't remember it. Sorry.
I mean, you're not old. You're not in your 40s.
I'm 43.
Nani? You're 43? Damn, bro. You look a day over 30, man.
It's all that pizza.
That makes sense.
Pizza's the key.
Pizza's the key, man. It makes everybody happy. Well, that's very interesting. I'm going to keep that in mind, because even though I'm lactose intolerant, I still eat pizza.
Okay.
My girl keeps telling me like not to fucking eat pizza all the time. I'm just like, babe. I only eat once per week.
I'm sure there's a very specific reason that she's telling you not to eat pizza, since you're lactose intolerant.
I'm pretty sure it probably must be from the goodness of her heart. You know, bless her heart. You know, it has to be something. I don't know. But she's vegan. So she's actually very healthy, and she's very eating better food than I, is all I can say. But I actually ate some of her food, and it's not that bad. It actually tastes good.
Fine.
You have vegan before?
Of course. I mean, a lot of our food is made from their food, so it's just, the only thing that's different is the meat part. Like, but
I don't know. I just prefer the real deal in some ways.
I don't enjoy the fake meat products. Like, I don't need those, like fake meat, but just regular vegetables is just completely fine.
Well, I mean, vegetables is fine. There's nothing wrong about that. Fake meat, like when you say fake meat, like, you know, the fast food stuff and the frozen food shit.
No, I'm talking about when they do like, oh, this is like vegan hamburgers. Like,
oh, the Beyond Meat. Yeah.
It's not even the Beyond stuff. because the Beyond stuff is
Oh,
actually not terrible. I'm talking about when people do like, here is a black bean burger, and I'm just like,
oh.
I'm good. I like black beans and I like burgers. I just don't like black bean burgers. Like I'd rather just eat a hamburger. So if I'm gonna eat vegan food, I'd rather just be like, just make me some vegetables in a really cool way. Don't try to tell me that this is just like a hamburger because it's not.
Have you tried the mushroom burger then?
I don't really like mushrooms like that. Not a big fan.
Really? I'll tell you what. I was never that big of a vegetable person. Besides of the rice and beans that I typically eat on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess when I started going out with my girl and I started to be a little bit more open minded with certain foods and whatnot, I was like, okay, I started to get digging it. Like before, I usually never eat peppers. Now I eat peppers.
Look at you, progression.
I mean, at one point I have to grow up, right?
Absolutely.
You know, like I can't be that kid every day. Well, I can, but I have to be an adult
ordering
at some
chicken
point.
Nuggets. You guys stop ordering chicken nuggets.
Well, I stopped eating fast food a long time ago, man. And then it wasn't just recently. I came back at eating Wendy's, and I hate myself for doing it.
You'll be fine.
I don't. I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy it. It's just the fact that I'm wasting my money on fucking fast food is like, no. The problem is usually it has a food court in which every day I can just go get something different and I can get like smaller portions of stuff, and it's real food out there, Problem is, ever since the pandemic hit, the cafeteria has been closed. So what's the closest thing that I can do? Either I cook something or Uber Eats or something, And
yeah.
And that's my very downfall right now. So
I heard they closed Swenson's.
Which one?
Swenson's.
What's Swenson?
In front of Sunset Place, in front of the mall, behind the Wendy's. There's a restaurant there. It was an ice cream place.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, they actually did close it not too long ago.
That place was really good.
They actually had very good ice creams, but again, I can't go that often.
Burgers are good. The burgers are really good.
I haven't managed to get some of those burgers though. I was always in there for the ice cream, even though it messes up my stomach. I just the ice cream was just
the burgers. Fire. The burgers are fire, like some real hamburgers. Very good. Anyways, we're not here to talk about hamburgers. What are we talking about? Talk to me, man. What are we talking about?
Okay, man. Well, first things first, man. Before we take on this little journey that we got right here, like there's a lot of things I want to talk to you about because one of the things I want you to know, the reasoning why I started this podcast, it's because I basically interview people from the industry, whether it's engineers, promoters, artists, A&Rs, or even, other industries like filmmakers from Iceland that not too long ago I started interviewing and other people. And the reason why I'm interviewing and started this podcast is because I basically got to a point in which I try to find to see what's my real calling call. What am I really passionate about, And I'm if you know me, you know all my trajectory. I basically touch everything from being a DJ that I've been doing it for over 15 years for music production to engineering to audio tech to staging and striking and LED techs and all that crap, bro. Like I've done it everything. I've worked on festivals. I've worked on clubs. Like I've basically done everything, but I haven't found the one thing that I'm very proud of, or I'm very passionate about, but I still want to be part of this industry in some shape, way, or form, And that thing was podcasting because I was always into listening to other people's conversation because I wanted to educate myself, I want to know more about stuff and I want to still continue to learn more stuff. And ever since I started doing this podcast, I decided okay, I know what I should do and what should be my goal in all this. My goal in doing this podcast is for the little people, for the people that are trying to get into the industry or want to know how to get into the industry or want to know what's it like or all that stuff. I'm basically telling my experience, all my comments, all the ugly side of this, all the good things about it, all the cool stuff, all the bad stuff, all the awareness that you had to be. And don't just take it from my word as well. Just take word from other people who also was part of it or still in it and have been through it as well, Not too long ago, I interviewed, Ricky and Shindo, And I've been fans of them since day one, And it was
Mhm.
just like the perfect time that I interviewed those two because I decided to rebrand myself within the podcast with a new look, with a new promos, and start doing all cool stuff. Because here's something about me: I was always the quiet person, whether you want to believe it or not. Because I know I was very loud in school. I was very loud, and we all know that. But the reason why I was very loud in school is because I felt like I was allowed to be loud in a certain way. Like I was allowed to speak my mind and not be judged about it, and be get myself educated about it. Like whatever I'm saying, whether it's right or wrong, we have conversations, we learn from each other, we start to know what it's like.
Mhm.
That's not the same story when you're working in the industry, when you're working in set festival and set label or set artist or set whatever. It's not the same thing. There's times in which you have to keep your mouth shut and listen and just do what they gotta say.
Mhm.
Because I feel like most of the time, if I open my mouth at the wrong time or whatever time it is, I might say the wrong thing or not, or may come across as the wrong thing, even though I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm just saying facts,
Mhm.
but people just don't want to hear, or people don't want to talk about it, or people don't want to know about it.
Mhm.
So in a way, like, you can understand that I felt like kind of restricted, that damn, I basically can't say any of the stuff that goes around, and I wish I can just like say something about it or do something about it. And my calling was the podcast. Basically, I'm just letting everybody know, it's like, hey guys, like I was a promoter. I had to do some stuff. I had to work for free just to do this, Well, that's my path. You could take a different path. And
Mhm.
here's an example of that other path. Or, what we all know about, certain artists have ghost producers. It's for outside consumers, is taboo to talk about it. But when you're behind the scenes, you all know about it,
Mhm.
Or even when it comes to labels, like labels don't really give a shit about you. They don't, in some labels, not all labels. Some labels are maybe there for the people or for the community, but if you put it on a grand scheme as a vast majority, you can say that a lot of labels are just in it for themselves. And most of the time, people just don't realize what they're signing off in these contracts, or most of the time, people aren't aware what these labels do to do certain things to get these artists popping. Now, like, people don't know that these 360 deals comes with a price, with the label gives you a loan and you have to pay that back, and then they
Mhm.
go on an outroar like, what the fuck, why am I paying this, like, why I gotta pay this much? And I'm like, did you read the contract? Examples
Mhm.
like that. So I'm basically, every episode that I've done on this show is basically topics about that, like discussing about rating contracts, discussing about where your actual money comes from. It doesn't, maybe for some, but I know for a fact that the majority of your income comes from touring and merch. And then unless you're a, well, like a Twitch streamer or an Instagram model or OnlyFans, that they can give you the money directly from there. Most of the time, you're earning your money for church and merch, because music, you don't get your music right away. For at least the money part, you get that like probably 6 months to a year or so later, for royalties and whatever the splits was with your label and other stuff, stuff like that people aren't aware of it. Basically, like, put it out there, and explain in details, let them know, like, hey, like, this is the stuff that goes around, and this is the stuff that happens. Like, hey, are you willing to do this stuff? Like, are you? Then expect some of this stuff, and I'm just trying to be, the voice out there to let everybody know. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to, start a revolution here. There's no way that you could go against a monster machine like this industry. Like, it's
Mhm.
it's basically shooting yourself in the foot. I'm just speaking out there and just saying, hey, this is what I learned from my experience. This is what I learned from my people's experience or from others' experience. A wise man learns from his own mistake. A wiser man learns from other people's mistakes. So that's basically the premise of this podcast. And I'm trying to do my best out there. And I'm like dead serious and going out with all sorts of artists, whether it's the little guys, even to the big guys like Ricky and Shindo, to even other people from other industries. As I'm trying to tackle it as an entertainment wise, you know. Not too long ago, I just interviewed a cosplayer, which she's a marketing genius, and she has like over 600,000 followers. And all she does is just cosplay and play video games, and she gets all that money from that.
That's pretty cool.
That's the life, right? All the way to, like I told you, a filmer, as someone that I met through a mutual friend. The guy's literally writing down his first horror TV show in Iceland. Like, he's like literally writing down the script and everything. And we met through a mutual friend, and we were just like talking about all sorts of stuff. And then as well as from YouTubers and other people, like, and I started noticing that everybody in some way has a similar story of mine, or a similar story than other people that I've interviewed. In which basically it shows like it don't matter which industry you are, most of the stuff that you had to do, we all been through before, you know? You just have to do all these comments, and you have to grind hard and all that stuff. Now, everything I've set up to now, would you agree for what I said, or disagree, or there's some here's and there's?
I think there's some here's and there's. I mean, I think that like, as far as like, you know, not everybody has a super hard route. Some people are super fortunate and don't have to go through a lot. Some people aren't as fortunate. Some people haven't been fortunate. Some people have to work really long, and some people don't become successful till much later in their life. So it really depends on the person, but it also depends on their input and their focus. Like, you know, a lot of people try to do this, but maybe they don't have the correct focus, or maybe they're focused on the wrong things. You know, a lot of times people come in here and they be like, "Oh, this is cool. I'm going to do that." And, "Oh, that's cool. I'm going to do that." And then that's never really, it doesn't really work for anybody. And then the people who kind of just stick to their guns, usually they have kind of much longer road, and, you know, it just, when their time comes, their time comes. But again, their time may never come. Being successful in entertainment is like winning the lottery.
Basically,
not everybody gets to do it.
Yeah.
So, but it's not luck. It's just you really being adamant about pursuing your thing. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
And how you actually started your whole life with this industry? Like, what actually prompted you to become an audio engineer or producer?
When I was really young, I had two uncles, or I have two uncles. They're still alive, and they were both DJs. And so there was always like music at my house. And, like, I lived in my grandma's house a lot, so they were there, and they were like my big brothers. And we had, like, you know, 1200s and mixers and, you know, kinds of equipment in the house. I just, you know, I was always around music. I just at one point was like really thought that I was going to do that, or like doing like music production, but I didn't really know what any of that meant. I didn't know what it meant to like be a producer. So when I was old enough, after high school, I was old enough, and I went to Full Sail because I found out that that's what you could do there. And I went to Full Sail and I learned about audio engineering because there wasn't really like a production school. So I thought that was the closest thing to it. And I went to Full Sail, and then at Full Sail, I kind of like really figured it out, things that I liked, the things that I wanted to do. And and then after that, I moved to Miami because I came from New York. So I went to Orlando to go to Full Sail. Yeah, I didn't live in Miami or Florida at all. I moved to Orlando to go to Full Sail. And then after Full Sail, I moved here. And then once I was here, I was really fortunate to work at some cool studios. One being with Charles. That was my first studio I worked at. And then from then on, I just, you know, just kept working here locally and just making contacts and just working really hard. And that was it. It was just a lot of work. I'm not going to even lie. It was just a lot of work. It was working every day and not saying no to any gigs, like taking all the gigs. I don't really recommend that to people. When I tell people now, they're like, should I take every gig? And I'm like, just because you can kind of sometimes get lost in the work. Like, you forget where you're trying to go. So that can be like detrimental to you. So yeah, take gigs. Like, you know, don't just turn down everything, but definitely also give yourself time to like do other things, like go to the beach, play video games.
I mean, do you actually believe that it's actually better off to do that balance your life a little bit by, you know, taking gigs and at the same time have some time to yourself, or just go full mode grind mode?
I think that there is time for both. But I think that there's definitely time. And when I say like take time, I'm not like, yo, you can't, like in this industry, you can't be like, I only work Monday through Friday. Only at a certain level could you do that. Like if you're, I don't know, you're freaking Mark Ronson. You could be like, I only work Monday through Friday.
Right.
And then that's it. Like you're already successful. You're Kanye. You'd be like Kanye. Kanye's like, I only work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Like, what are you gonna do as Kanye?
It's Kanye, yeah.
You know, you know, So, and I know a lot of big producers that are like that. They're like, yo, I don't work on Sundays, or I don't work on this day, or I don't work past this night. But they're at that point. Like when you're starting out, you can't have that mentality. But you can make time for yourself, and you should also find time to just do things for yourself, even if it's not taking a whole day. But take the morning. Most of the time, if you're in studio work, you finish late. So if you know you don't have to be back at the studio till 8 p.m. the next day, try to wake up a little bit earlier. Do something. Go ride your bike. Go to the store. Go to the beach. Stick your feet in the water. Do something. If you don't live near a beach, then go do something you like for a couple hours,
like
and then
do
get
a hobby.
yourself.
Yeah,
something. Or just to go do nothing. Like go do nothing for 2 hours. Like if you like laying down, like lay down for an extra hour. Or go take a bath. I don't know. Something. Do something that's different. Go paint or something. Play checkers. I don't know.
And I'm pretty sure you mentioned this too many times to your students, right?
I do. I always mention it to people that you need to make time for yourself and the other things that you like, because your life can't just be this. Because then you run out of energy. Yeah, your battery gets worn out. You need to recharge it. So that's why people go on vacation. So like, it doesn't have to be a week long. But vacation could be 4 hours.
Right.
Especially here in Miami. Yeah. If you wake up on the right day, you could be at the beach by 10, by 2. You go home. You got a tan. Saw some butts. Like.
Right. It's the way you say it.
It's true though.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you live here in some, like, at least if you live here in Miami or South Florida or anywhere that you're living the coast, you can take advantage of it. Like go bike riding or go to the beach and enjoy a few hours, then come back.
Yeah, if you live in a place where you can go outside and enjoy, even if it's like snowing. Like if you like the snow, go outside, look at the snow, look at the birds, do something.
Just find a hobby.
Change your scenery, play some basketball, play bit. I don't know, do something that you like, that you enjoy. Do it whenever you can, and then you can balance stuff out.
Usually, I say that to people when you feel like that whole mentality of writer's block, when you feel like kind of block or you can't even progress. Like that's where I tell people, it's like, all right, then stop what you're doing and do something that you like. Do a sort of a hobby, like go play video games or go outside, go hang out with your friends or family, or go see a movie, go do this, something outside of it, and guarantee you when you're doing it, it's gonna just like a flip of the switch, and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't wait to go back again. Now I can actually do this. The
problem is that people do too much of that and they don't ever go back. That's the real problem, is that people don't know how to like balance it. So they're either working too much or they're relaxing too much. And there's a balance. And it's not the same balance for everybody. And you should find your balance where you're productive as well as like stable mentally. Right. But too often people are like, oh, I'm just going to play games. And now it's been 12 hours and you're almost beating Zelda.
Right.
You should not, if you play FIFA for 6 minutes, like don't try to play Final Fantasy as a break.
I mean, I have no problem with playing Final Fantasy, but I get what you're saying. I usually discipline myself that when I'm playing video games, I can only play up to 2 hours. That's my 2-hour mark, and that's it. After that, then I either do something productive or go just rest and chill. But I can only play 2, because if I don't put that cap on myself, like you said, I'll be spending my 12 hours just playing that damn video game on Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So it's important it's a balance, like everything.
A little discipline. That's something that a lot of people lack lately. Now that I'm noticing, a lot of people are lacking a little bit of discipline with themselves.
I don't think it's lately. I think it's always.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's any different. I think it's the same. I think it's always been. There's people who are super disciplined. There's people who are not. And then there's the people in the middle, which is most people. You got to stop expecting a reward for everything that you do. Just do the work.
I think the
work should be a reward.
Yeah. I think
the fact that you can go to work is valuable.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what may be what's contributing to the whole thing, is like, oh, like work so I could expect something, when in this industry this should be like the place in which you should expect nothing at all.
Yeah, and then when you get something, it's nice, but also you're not working. Because what happens when you get the thing that you were trying to working for? You stop working. You're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, I got it. High five. That's it.
But then that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
So stop working for a reward and just enjoy the work and enjoy the journey. And I know that sounds super corny, but it's the truth. If you stop expecting rewards, you just do the work, and then it's not hard to do the work because you don't. There's no end point. It's just like, I'm gonna do this. And this is what I'm doing. I'm going to make a song today. And then tomorrow I'll worry about putting it out. And then the day after I'll worry about marketing. And then the day after I do this. And then the next week I start again. And I'm not looking for a reward. I'm just doing the work.
Exactly. Now,
and when you get a reward, it's great, but it's not why you're doing it.
I think that's something that I had to learn the hard way when I was trying to come up, because I was basically thinking I was not pleasing myself, was pleasing the masses. And I was the whole time I said, it's like, okay, if I do this, I know I'm gonna get this, and I know I'm gonna get it. It's a guaranteed thing. It's that, and I shoot myself for failure after that, man, because I was like, damn, bro, I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
All because I had that mentality of, I should expect this if I do this and I do that, and I know because this is what's gonna happen. This is what I'm gonna do. I did the work, and then when it happens, it's just like it all fell flat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then that's where you discourage yourself, and that's what a lot of people actually loses confidence and loses their motivation.
You put too much stock in that, whatever the end was, the pot of gold.
Yeah,
it's not about the pot of gold. It's about doing the work and being able to do it consistently and efficiently.
Right. Now,
that's how you become a person who wakes up. And if you're a musician, that's how you get to be the guy who wakes up and makes music first thing in the morning, and then makes a bunch of music. And then it's not, you don't need something to inspire you to think, because the work is inspiration. So if you ever seen people who just wake up and make music, you'd be like, yeah, I don't know how he does it. What do you think about it? And they're just like, I just get up. That's it. The inspiration is the work.
Yeah.
The work is the inspiration. So if you just keep doing it, at some point you get so good at it that it's just easy to do it. It just becomes like a routine for you, and it's not hard. And that's when you start becoming really successful.
Yeah.
Because you can repeat what you did before because you've just constantly always done the work.
And that's another thing, because and it works. It definitely works, because I remember I put myself as a timer. Like, okay, every time I get out of work, 2 hours. I gotta do 2 hours of work on my production. And that's the only thing I'm gonna be doing. And if I do that on a everyday basis, it became like a regular part of my routine. And all I gotta do is just open up Ableton and start doing stuff, either work on old projects or start working on a new project, and it just comes out naturally, because it's not that you force yourself to do it. It's more of you practice every day to learn how to get used to the idea of doing this every day for that amount of time. You're only doing it 2 hours. That's it. Don't overdo it. If you want to do it more, fine. Do it on times in which you don't have to overthink yourself, or you don't have to think too much, or you don't have to do much, like working, because that's another thing that a lot of people having troubles. Most of the people who wants to get involved in all this, they don't have the time or the luxury, because most of the time they're in their 9-to-5 jobs, or they're taking care of their families, or whatever their situation. They don't have that luxury. So I always tell people, just put yourself an hour or two. Believe it or not, an hour or two of production every day, consistently, you'll be surprised how far you can go by just putting yourself that 2 hour mark. Like, you'll be surprised how much more productive you can be, how much more stuff comes out of you naturally without even had to think about it. It's just like you just farted out of your brain, and there you go.
Yeah, because it becomes part of your routine. Do you have to think about your drive to work every morning?
No, I don't have to.
You just get in the car and go.
I just get in the car and go. Exactly.
Same thing. So instead of driving the car, it's when you get home and you sit on your laptop. If you do it every day, at some point you don't have to think about it, and it just starts to go.
I agree.
And that's when your ideas can flow freely. That's why when you're sitting in the car and you're driving and you're not thinking about it, all your ideas come to you. Same thing as a shower. You don't have to think about taking a shower. You've been taking a shower your whole life.
Yes.
Your brain is free to do other stuff. Your brain is free to wander, to be creative. Same thing. If you sit there every day for 2 hours, you don't have to think about it. You just sit down and you just start doing it because you've always done it. You've been doing it and it's natural. And then all the ideas come. And that's why when you watch people who do this professionally, they do it and you're like, how do they come up with that idea so fast? It's because they come up with an idea every day. Their brains their brain is just like hacked into just, when I sit down, this is what happens. And this is your free time brain. Go. And you can do stuff, but you got to like dedicate your time to it. And when people are like, oh, I don't have time because of my job, that's not true.
That's
because you have time to come home and watch TV.
Yeah. It's horseshit. When I hear that all the time, it's like, dude, you have time. You just have to make that time. That's all.
Yeah. And if somebody called, it was like, yo, come over here. We're going to party. You'd probably make time to go party. Same shit.
Exactly.
So there's no excuse.
At that point, it becomes like, what are your priorities?
That's really what it is. It just boils down to your priorities. It boils down to how hard do you really want to work for it? Because most people don't. And it also comes back to, do you believe that you can actually do it? Because a lot of people say that they want to do it, but in the back of their minds, there's a little voice that is like, you're not going to do this. Yeah. It's not for you. And so you make every excuse not to do it because that little voice in the back of your head tells you that you're never going to make it, that it's impossible, that it's too hard, that nobody makes it, that it's a lottery. It is. It's hard. It's all those things. But guess what? Guess who it's never going to work for? The person who doesn't try to do it. So now you can make every excuse and be like, I can't do it, or I couldn't do it because they're so hard. It's hard for everybody.
Yeah, because if it was that easy, then,
everybody would do it.
Exactly.
It's hard for everybody. It's just some people can figure that out really early and decide, like, you know what, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then when I get to the point where I can do it with my eyes closed, then, I'll be okay. But until then, I have to do the work. I have to do it every day.
Exactly. And like a perfect example, like I bring him a lot. I need to stop saying his name over. But a perfect example is our boy Ricky, nitty gritty. I see that guy literally when he was just a nobody at school to now one of the biggest multi-genre producers out there in the scene. And I remember the times that he was coming up. I remember that he wanted it so bad that he knew his priority. Like he knew what he really has to do to get it there, And there were times in which I can test this. Like there were times that he doesn't get out of the freaking room. There were times I believe that he never showered. Like crazy shit. Like there were times in which me and Mike, we basically tell Ricky, it's like, yo, Ricky, let's just go out. Let's grab a bite or something. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And we're like, bro, don't worry. You can finish that later. Like you're not going to finish that now. And he looks at us like, yeah, all right, bet. Here I go. And he just does it, He just then he becomes a machine in all of this, And that's the priorities because he knew what he actually wants. Like he knew it's a long shot, but he knew the risk out of it. He know like, all right, if I'm gonna do it because I do have the tools for it, I believe I can do it. All right, here's the stuff I gotta do it, and then boom, he came out he started out as a drummer, as a melodic dubstep, and now he's gone to every freaking genre that you can imagine. Like hell, he's done like music for reggaeton artists, He just recently did he just got himself the multi-platinum for Bad Bunny's track Siempre with Diplo. That's fucking dedication, As someone who doesn't speak Spanish, yet he made a dope track for those guys, Like he has no boundaries. But why is that?
This is music.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that he can do it. At some point, if you're successful, if you do enough stuff, you can develop a certain level of the shitness, which is healthy.
Right.
And it lets you get certain things done when you're in the room. That's pretty normal, man. That's for people who in the entertainment, it's pretty normal. And you just, when you see people like that, you know what you're up against if you're trying to do it. That's what you're competing against. Somebody who's just super focused and is just willing to put in the work and is willing to stay a little bit later and just work a little bit harder.
Yeah, basically. Just don't give up, man. Just push it through. Like you need to have like tough skin for this. And if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen.
Yeah. Because pretty much.
Yeah, very much out of it. And when you started out after you got out of college, you basically went out into some of these studios right here in South Florida. Like you just right jumping into internship?
No, Full Sail got me an internship with Charles at Charles' studio. It was a studio called Heaven Studios. It doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, I only interned one place there, and then I started like getting work, like local work, and then had a really big break at Circle House, and they put me on some really big sessions, and I was able to make a name for myself. That's when I really started like making a living from this, and knowing that I was like I could do this full time. And I just dove in head first. And I did it every day. Even when I wasn't at the studio, like I was able to at some point buy a little setup at the crib, and I still worked at the crib every day when I wasn't at the studio. And eventually that just turned into like me just working every day, just always constantly working on my craft, and got really good, and people noticed, and yeah, it just opened a lot of doors for me, and just never really did anything else.
And during
I
those,
never had to like get a job or anything.
and during those internships, you were not getting paid at all. You were just like doing the work, and until I get there.
Mm-hmm. When I went to Full Sail, I was able to not only go to Full Sail, but I actually had 3 jobs. I was at Full Sail.
Oh shit!
So it was really tough for me. But because of that, I was able to save some money. And then when I moved to Miami, we had a friend of the family who lived here, and they let me stay. Like I basically slept on the floor. They had an empty room with like no furniture in it, and I slept on the floor in a sleeping bag for like 7 months.
Wow.
And I just had my clothes, and I had a car, and I would drive to the studio every day, and I would spend as much time there just because like these people were letting me stay in their house. I didn't want to like be a nuisance, so I just wouldn't go home till like really late. So I would stay at the studio really late, and then come home late, and then wake up really early. So like it would be like I almost wasn't there, but they would never see me, because I never wanted them to feel like this guy's like hanging out on our couch, eating our food, wasting our electricity.
Right.
So I literally went there to sleep, and I was like super grateful. And then once I started making money, like I let them know, and like I moved out as soon as I could. But I was like, they would be like, they called me the ghost, because they were like, you're never here.
Right.
They were like, we only know you're here because the sink is wet because you brushed your teeth this morning. But like, they never saw me, because I did that on purpose, because I didn't want them to feel like I was taking advantage.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's very interesting, because to be honest, I've never met anybody up till now who's has done the actual struggling artist routine, you know? Like I've never, you're like literally the first person I've met probably and interviewed, because I basically talk about it, but I'd never gone far enough to say anything about it, because I never experienced it in that regards. I always had some sort of help in some shape or way, you know, whether it's for family or
I mean, that helped. I mean, that them letting me stay there was definitely help. Like if I would have came here, there would have been I would have had to go home, you know?
Right.
But that was tremendous help, just letting me sleep there. But I definitely was not. I ate dollar menu from Wendy's for like 8 months.
Jeez.
Even after I moved out, like I'm a pretty big guy, and I think I lost like 60 pounds
out of eating the Wendy's menu.
No, it was dollar menu, so I could either eat like I would spend like $2. And I'd be like, I could get a Frosty and some fries, or I could get like some nuggets and a Frosty, and like that would be my dinner.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, I was living on like $8 a day. And sometimes at the studio, people would buy me lunch, and I would eat lunch. But I had to just make sure that whatever money I had, I was to put gas in the car so I could get to the studio.
Oh.
So that was a bigger priority than eating lunch. So I was like the dollar menu. There's a Wendy's right behind the studio on 163rd, and I would just walk over there, and it was dollar menu on a daily basis.
Damn, bro.
And that shit was tough, man. Shit was really tough. My first apartment had no furniture in it at all, like ever. Like I lived there a year, I never put furniture in it. It was just like the sleeping bag again.
And not even like a inflatable mattress. Nothing. Just
no. I had a sleeping bag. I had a sleeping bag and a bunch of books and my clothes.
Damn, bros. That's pretty interesting, man.
It was terrible.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I know it has to be terrible, but it's like hearing the story itself is interesting, because again, this is the stuff that you normally do not hear from others. You know, you normally don't listen to this, and people's always wondering, or people always like, you know, I'm doing the struggling artist routine. It's like, no, you're not, bro. Like you're living at your parents' home. You're fine. You know, like there's people who are in worse situations or worse part that they're doing the actual struggling artists like you just mentioned right now. I commend you for doing something like that. And I commend you for even telling me your story, man, because I'm not sure if you were, you know, if you were okay about it, you know?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't mind. It is what it is. That's what I had to go through, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of it. It just was, it was what it was. That's what I had to do. So I did it. And it turned out okay. So no regrets.
I mean, no regrets up till now, man. You did fine. You're, like you said, an audio engineer and a professor right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what actually came across to you that you decided, like, you know what, I want to teach some of these cats, you know, what it's like to be here?
At one point, I just wasn't happy doing this, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I wanted to take a break. So I kind of just stopped and I quit. Like I just didn't want to do it anymore. And then I was going to be a teacher before I went to Full Sail. I was going to be a science teacher. Yeah, that's what I wanted to be, was a science teacher. And then obviously like the audio thing happened and then it worked out. But at one point in like 2010, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I was like kind of fed up with it. And then so I just quit, and then I was just like home. And then at some point I was like, oh, I need to make some money. So I was like, oh, maybe I can teach. And I called SAE. And it was like a week later, I was like teaching.
No way. Just like that?
Yeah. It happened super fast. Yeah. I called and they were like, yeah, why don't you send us your resume? And I sent them a resume. And then they called me like 2 days later and they were like, hey, why don't you come down? And I think I met with them like on a Thursday. And I think on Monday I had a class.
What?
Like my first, yeah. I taught like microphones. My first class.
That's a wild story to hear. Oh,
it's cool though. They were super nice and they gave me a chance. And then I've been there for like 10 years now.
Yeah, so you've been a decade with SAE, man. That's wild, man. Oh, so by the time I got to SAE, you were already 4 years into it.
Yeah.
Damn. In SAE, did they actually ever give you like chances to do any side projects or continue to pursue other stuff besides just being a professor?
Oh, so yeah. I mean, they don't. I mean, what I do after work is my business. Like I always. At one point, I didn't probably like until you came around your class. Like I wasn't really doing stuff, and then slowly I started like going back doing stuff. And I think like probably like 4 years ago was when I opened the spot at Vanquish, or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I've always done stuff though. I still do stuff. It's important. Keeps your brain functioning.
But that was just more like side hustle stuff, you know, like doing a studio session with certain artists, or you know, learning how to become a professor for Pro Tools.
Yeah.
What actually made you decide those roles at that point? You know, what actually made you decide, like, you know what, I'm gonna be a Pro Tools instructor? Like, why not?
I think I was always like super good at Pro Tools already. Like, not to toot my own horn, but I am super good at Pro Tools, and I knew that. So when they came around and they asked us to be certified, I was like, no problem. I thought it was going to be easier. It was actually kind of tough, but it's cool now. I do it privately too, which is great.
That's dope.
Privately.
So now
it's really nice.
Do private tutoring sessions, right?
Private Pro Tools instruction, yeah.
That's actually pretty dope. Do you actually have a lot of people come up to you for learning how to do Pro Tools?
Yeah, I currently have 5 students.
Wow. And they become certified Pro Tools?
Certified Pro Tools users. Pro Tools, I do 101 and 110, so certified Pro Tools user. Pro Tools operator. That's what
okay, Pro Tools operator. Okay. Now, were you even curious, at least a little bit curious, to learn other DAWs like Ableton or Logic or any other?
I know how to use all those DAWs.
Huh?
Yeah, I know how to use Ableton. I know how to use Logic. I know how to use Digital Performer. I got FL on my computer. I've only opened it like 2 times, but once you learn one DAW, you can learn.
Basically, you learn everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty decent in Ableton. I used to be a lot better in Logic, but I haven't had Logic in a long time. But I'm pretty good in Ableton.
I'm very great at Ableton, and I'm very rusty with Logic and Pro Tools. Shocking.
Yeah, I haven't been in Logic in a long time.
I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like with Ableton, I basically can do anything that Logic and Pro Tools can do. I can do it in Ableton, and because I know all the shortcuts and I know all the tools and all the stuff, like I could just do it faster there. Like, you know, when it comes to mix, mastering, like I could just do it there. When it comes to recording, I can do it there. Granted, like the audio engine is not the same as Logic's and Pro Tools audio engine. Obviously, when you're bouncing it from there is a whole different level. But I learned that, if you mix properly and you make the execution right, then it's gonna sound great, regardless of what DAW you use.
Yeah.
I mean, do you disagree with it, or do you feel like there's some no, just no, you just
I always tell people, it's like, if you play guitar
mhm.
and you're really good at guitar, and I play the drums, and I'm like, man, you should stop playing guitar. You should play the drums. The drums are way better. You're not going to switch your instrument.
Right.
It's the same thing. If Ableton's your DAW, Ableton's your DAW. That's your instrument. Pro Tools is your DAW. Pro Tools is your DAW. It's your instrument. The only thing that matters is the outcome. It might not be the same, and it might be whatever. At the end of the day, that's your instrument. So I never get into the conversation like, what's better? I'm like, whatever one lets you get your job done. If you're in Audacity and that's the DAW you use, then you use Audacity. Like, that's it. Stop.
Well, the audacity for you to say you can use Audacity and make something out of it, that's wild.
I'm pretty sure that I could probably make a song in Audacity. I'm pretty sure it's not impossible. It's just it doesn't have all the things that I need that I'm used to using, but I'm sure there's ways. And I'm sure it might even open up some creativity just because of its limitations. I'm sure there's some kid out there making beats in Audacity and they're probably amazing.
I'll tell you this. I remember one of my homies from this label, Disciple Records, Modstead, they basically did like a little tutorial. And the challenge was like make at least a drop through using Audacity and using a Windows 98 computer. And using the little speakers. Do you remember the speakers that have on the computers that have like the green and purple cables? Yeah, make a song out using all that stuff.
That's amazing.
It took them.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, the video itself is 20 minutes long, but they said that it took them hours just to make that one loop. And they can only use the samples that are allowed to download in the computer, because obviously we're talking about an old computer that the biggest you can ever get out of it was what, 200 megabytes? So imagine making a song out of 200 megabytes of space, and that's it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's funny because when you mentioned that, I was like, that reminds me of that time that they actually did it, So yeah, that proves your point that if you can do it from there, you can do it from anywhere,
Yeah.
Just get your mindset out of it. So currently right now you're in SAE and you're right now being a student advisor, right? So what actually made you change those roles from being a professor to now advising people what to do?
A couple of things. One, they asked me to do it.
Yeah, okay.
So they asked me to do it just because of what I do is I help people find work after they graduate. So because of my knowledge of local studios and, facilities and my relationship with a lot of people in town, I thought I'd be good at it. And it's worked out, it's a little bit more flexible, the schedule. And I get to not be at the campus all the time because I got to go to studios and visit and meet studio managers and meet business owners and all this stuff. So I get to spend a lot of time outside, which I really like. And then also I get to use my connections to help young kids, pursue their desires, their goals, which most of them is to work in a studio. So I can make that happen. So it's cool. I like it.
And so besides that, what is there any other extra stuff that you have to do as a studio advisor for the school?
And I got to get the students prepared. I got to help them with their resumes, kind of give them some insight as to where they're going, interview information, prepare for this. That's what they're going to ask you. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of prepare them for the gigs, and then also let them know what gigs are available, what they can do, how they can maybe better, how to, the things that studios are looking for, what they're not looking for, help them find that right place for them.
And that involves as well, like getting the students involved in certain workshops or seminars and such.
Yeah, I mean, we do those too. I do those more just so they can kind of get an idea of what's actually happening and hear from people outside of the campus, just to hear yo, this is how so-and-so works, or this is what we do at our studio. Tomorrow I have a guy coming from a manager from a local studio, coming to the campus to talk to the students about working at their studio. So just stuff like that, just give them more insight into the industry and give them as much information as, doesn't work for everybody, but somebody's going to get something useful out of one of them and, it might work. You might hear that one thing that's clicks.
Yeah.
So we try to have like outside people come in and talk to them as much as possible.
How often do you recommend people to attend in some of these seminars and workshops, for them to learn?
I mean, obviously because of COVID, we weren't able to have them in person anymore. So we were
Right.
doing them like online. But we try to have them pretty regularly. I have 2 actually this week. So
Oh, really? With the school or with another company?
No, with the school. The school we have our studio rep. I mean, the guy from the studio coming on Tuesday, and then on Thursday we have a representative from a big AV company coming down.
Oh,
To talk to the students about working and doing AV and stuff like that.
which AV company is that?
That's called Seal.
Seal.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I've never heard of them, man.
A lot of people have it, but they're pretty big.
Like South Florida big or like nationwide
Florida.
big?
Like Florida. I think they're nationwide too, but I think they're base.
Like
Orlando
Rhino
is the Florida.
Like Rhino and Pack?
Yeah, like that. But like more AV, more less like concerts.
I mean, Pack does a lot of AV. I mean, they're more focused on conferences.
I don't know Pack, not PSAV.
PSAV, man.
They're not called Encore.
Under Encore?
The company that Encore bought PSAV during the pandemic.
Shit.
Yeah, like last year, like last April, around there. Encore bought PSAV.
Oh, god damn.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so it's Encore now.
I'm a little bit behind then. Fuck. Wow. But you used to do a lot of AV work before, or no? You were always in the studio.
I've never done that. I mean, I've done live sound early in my career just to make money, but I haven't done it live sound in 20 years.
What were you?
I don't enjoy live sound.
You don't like being a striker or being a board operator?
I don't enjoy live sound at all. Like I don't.
Interesting. What? But why is that? Like, what makes it very different from you working on the live sound and working on the studio that made you feel like?
I mean, there's a lot of differences. The main one is in the studio. If something is wrong, you can fix it.
Oh, and live, you're like something's wrong. It's like you're fucked. Yeah.
No, it went like if somebody did something wrong, that's it. Like move on to the next part. Which I guess some people enjoy that, but I don't.
It's called the adrenaline rush. I don't like it either.
I don't like live sound. I never enjoyed live sound. So it's not for me.
I mean, I do it because I know I'm great at it. And again, I'm not tuning my own home, but I'm great at it. And I know I'm very great at responding to when something goes wrong, or when I can most of the time I can predict when something goes wrong. And I go ahead and make sure to prevent it. And when something does go wrong, then I'm right there literally to fix it. And it'll be like a few seconds and that's it. Doesn't take that long. And I guess like it's because I've been doing it for so long, that I got used to do it, I know a lot of people get panicky mode, and lose their shit when something goes wrong. The music is out or the audio is popping out or the microphone is out. And I just go like, that's it. The show goes on. Let's go. I don't enjoy the rush. I prefer everything to go perfect, but there's some stuff that you can't avoid, and when I do it, I just like I feel proud of it. It's like I look at myself as a problem solver, so I tend to solve the problem.
I mean, that's all audio engineering is. That's all audio engineering is solving problems. But I just don't. I don't like live sound. I don't know. I don't enjoy at all any aspect of it. So I don't do it.
So you just like go ahead and stick with the studio time.
Stick me in the studio. I'll be okay.
And how many artists have you ever worked in your lifetime that you can say like, holy crap, I was proud working with these certain artists?
Oh, I think it's how many people. I'm going to be like, bro, I can't count that.
There's a list behind it, bro, of course.
I mean, there's a bunch of people that I'm really proud to have been part of their work. I mean, I guess the biggest accomplishment for me was Amy's album, 10 times platinum at this point. But I've had other records that have been really successful as well. A bunch of stuff, Nas and CeeLo and Mary J. Blige, and just a bunch of really successful records. And I'm proud of all of it. I put a lot of work into everything I did. I always took it really seriously, so that people would take me seriously and know that I was respecting their craft. I think that's probably the most important part.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm proud of all of it. And if anybody's curious, like obviously just go to Discogs, check out my discography. Like, there's some cool stuff in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or Jacksta. What's the other thing I called? Jackster. I think it's called Jackster.
The what?
There's a new app. There's a new like app for like your discography. I think it's called Jackster or Jacksta, some shit like that.
Oh shit, for real? So
Mhm.
so from there I can see all your discography, like all the stuff that you worked before.
Yeah, it's like an app, and you can go in there
Mm.
and like, if you didn't get a credit, like you can add it. You know, it's pretty cool. It's just like discog. It's just like discogs or all music, some shit. But they just did it in the app form, which I don't know if those other companies have done that yet. So
Interesting. And when it comes to collaboration, how do you go about it? You know, when you're working on a collaboration with set artists, or set producer, set engineer stuff.
I think it just depends on the situation. I think when you work in a studio and you're in a session, you can tell pretty quickly who's like somebody who wants to be in charge of the session, and then you can also tell when people are nervous. And then sometimes at that point, you have to step up and you got to make everybody feel like, as long as somebody's driving the boat, that's important. I'm always there to make sure that I'm useful and I'm helpful. And if somebody wants me to drive the boat, I'll drive the boat. But if there's somebody who really wants to drive the boat, drive the boat. You know, I'll just make sure that everything else is running. So it just really depends on the situation and the person's personality. I don't need to be either or. I'm just there to be flexible and make sure that at the end of the day we have something to show for it.
Have you ever been like the captain of the boat? Like, you know, like you came here and
Sure.
this is my charge and this is my stuff and this is how we're gonna do it.
It's not so much. It's not so much when I say captain of the boat. Sometimes it's not so much like I walk in and like, yo, I'm in charge. But sometimes you walk in a session and you can tell that there's no direction, or that they need help and maybe they don't know how to ask for help. So you just go in there and you just do certain things and you let people know that they can trust you and give you the captain's hat and you just finish.
How often you see that?
It's pretty normal. It's pretty
Yeah.
often. And sometimes it's not even about like me producing or anything. It's sometimes like me being in a session and being like, okay, now do this, now do this, now do this. And once they see that you have, I guess, the correct ideas or the correct approach to getting it done, people trust you and they'll just let you do what you got to do.
Have you ever had any clash with their representatives because they say like, no, you're killing his creative idea, even though what you're saying is like, well, I know this is what works. Like, if you don't want to do it like that, that's fine. We'll do it your way.
No, because I always let people do it their way first. And if it doesn't work, then I'll be like, can I make it? I'll never tell them like, this is what we're doing. I'll be like, what do you want to do? You want to do that? Okay, cool. And we'll do it. Even if you tell me, yo, I want to hang upside down and I want to put the microphone up my nose. Here we go, microphone up your nose. And then when it doesn't work out, and I'll be like, well, why don't we try you standing straight up and singing and see how that turns out? I'll let you do your way first. So you get tired. And then I'll be like, well, why don't we try this? And then if it works out, guess who saved the day? So I'm just there. I get paid regardless.
Right. Do you see that often on smaller people, or you see that often on more on big people?
It's both.
Really? So
everybody thinks they're amazing.
Right.
Everybody thinks they're really good at their job. Everybody thinks that they know what they're doing, including myself. Like there's times where I don't know what I'm talking about, but at least I know like I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna say like, yo, I don't know. I'm out of my depth here. I don't have a problem saying that.
Now, when it comes to these said artists, you know that sometimes there's these rumors that sometimes there's studio interference with said artists. You know, when said artists, or when you guys make a session and it sounds amazing, everybody's proud of it, and then all of a sudden the label is like, nah, we don't like it. Scratch that, or work the other way around, and you're like, damn, bro, like we spend like hours of doing this the right way and it sounds great and everybody's happy, and these labels decide to interfere and change it, and then it makes it even like shit.
I don't really get involved in that kind of stuff. Honestly, if I'm in a session with somebody and we're recording something and the label comes and be like, that's not what we're doing this. If that's the artist's relationship with that label, then that's their problem. I'm there to do a job. I'm not there to, be arguing with people or fighting for something. Like it's not. I know when something's bad and I know when something's good. And if the label's ideas are bad, I might be like, but
doesn't that like affect you in any way to say, like you worked on this and it sounds like shit, and then your name goes out as like, oh yeah, this is a Frank Socorro's work, and you're like, what the fuck, Frank Socorro? No way. Like that guy does.
I mean, I guess, but it's never been to that extent where it's like, oh my God, what they did was so terrible. It's usually like, oh, we're gonna use this as the hook. So my part is always the same. It's just like maybe the arrangement, and they picked the longer version, or they picked the one with a different beat, or it's like It's never a situation where it's like now mixed separate differently from what I did, and then it's like that's not a thing. And yeah, that doesn't happen that much. Like that doesn't. I mean, yeah, labels can turn down a song, but rarely do a label be like, "Well, we're gonna do it this way." Like it's usually like, "Hey, we don't like this song. Do something else."
Mm.
You know?
Now, do you usually like meet a lot of people that are in labels, or you meet a lot of people that are very independent?
I think it's equal. You know,
Okay.
depending on where the sessions are, but you know, it's pretty balanced.
Now, as your personal opinion, when somebody wants to go and try to be a whatever it is that they want to be, like an artist or a producer, they want to do things, but they have that mindset that oh, if I sign with a label, I may get this, this, and that. But then you tell them, like, maybe not signing with a label is maybe not the right fit for you now. You can try to go independent for a little bit. Now, would you recommend that person to go independent or just sign right away with a label?
I think it all depends on what you want, what you need to get out of this. If you just need some money, then
Usually is
maybe
that.
going with the label. If you're like, yo, I'm broke, I don't have no money, like
Mhm.
I need to eat, I don't have any shoes, then definitely go get that check. If they're offering you a serious check, but then also just find a lawyer. Like people just tell your lawyer you're going to pay him when you get the deal.
Yeah.
That's it. Find a decent lawyer. Ask other people who's the best entertainment lawyer in town and reach out to that person.
Yeah. Don't ask the label for their lawyers.
Definitely don't ask the label for their lawyers. That's actually a conflict of interest that shouldn't ever be happening, but people do that anyway. But yeah, just make sure that you know what you're signing. And if you're not sure, ask somebody else. Don't be afraid. People are too afraid that people are going to think they're dumb or they don't know anything because they ask questions. I'd rather ask questions and
Mhm.
you think that I'm dumb, then you make a dumb decision and you look really stupid. So go ask people. If you don't need the money, if you're willing to wait, if you have your own buzz, if you have a really good momentum all by yourself, then do it independent. It's just at different points in time, you might need different things. So I'll never tell somebody not to sign a record deal because I don't know what that person's going through.
But let's just say that I'm just starting now. Regardless of what I'd say, what do you think it could be like the best route for me? Because remember, now in today's world,
But
and
what are
now
you
we're
making?
okay. So let's say EDM music.
I think it honestly probably makes more sense. I think there's more a chance of you to be successful independently
Mm,
because, first of all, in EDM, let's just say EDM, it's just super broad, but let's say EDM.
yeah,
EDM, you're not as worried about getting your song played on the radio. That's not really a priority.
yeah,
That's not your goal. Whereas with like pop music or even like some rap stuff now, like your goal is to not and I say radio, I don't mean just like radio on your car, but like Apple Music, all those places where the place where music is played, where you
right.
have no control over it. That's not really a goal so much for EDM. I mean, there might be a couple of like shows here and there where they do that, but that's not really like your main source of where people are hearing music.
Mm,
It's really like getting to the festivals and like getting into the right DJs so that they play it in the right
yes,
places and stuff like that, right? So in that situation, you might be better off finding a really dope manager that can put you into some cool conversations and just keep making your music and putting it in the outlets where you can.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah,
Whereas like if you're like a R&B singer or you're a pop singer or you're whatever, you need to get to those certain platforms. So in that situation, a
mm.
label could be really useful because they have the money and the power to put you in those situations. It just all depends on what you're making and what you're trying to get out of it.
It's very important to have that clear because that's actually one of the things that I've seen a lot of people up and comers make some of these mistakes. They let themselves that oh like signing to a label is where I'm gonna get all the stuff, and I'm like, I mean, you could get all the stuff as an independent as well. It's just
Mhm.
you have to grind yourself. You have to have the resources. You invest yourself. Like you gotta do the work just to make it
That's the
happen.
thing.
Yeah.
Independent is a lot more work. There's going to be a lot more work on your part
Right.
than the label who has 500 employees and can get things to happen because they have money. You're going to have to do the actual work. So,
I mean, that's the big difference. The label has everything, and you don't have to work as much as that just to make the music and let the label release it. Whereas an independent, you basically have to do all the work and learn some new tricks as well on the road.
mhm.
I guess as an EDM standpoint, I always encourage people to like don't ever send music to record labels because some of these record labels, when you send them music, they're not looking at you because they only care about your social media presences. Who do you know? What do you know? You know, and you could be the most talented person ever. They're not gonna even look at you, which is sad because I thought, oh, this is all about, have the talent, have the, the gut for it. And, if I got a person that has like 100 followers, but their music sounds much better than quote unquote a Skrillex level type production, I'm surprised that that person doesn't get recognized or doesn't get picked up by these set labels. And they spend their whole entire life just making dope music, but never get the recognition that they deserve.
I mean, at the end of the day, the label's a business, and the
Mm,
business's job is to make money.
right.
And so, if you present to me two things, let's say we sell cupcakes. My job is to sell cupcakes. I have one cupcake on one hand that everybody who walks by the window stares at the cupcake and goes, "Oh my God, that looks like an amazing cupcake." Then I have the other cupcake, which tastes amazing, but it's just a brown cupcake and it has no decoration, and nobody looks at that cupcake. Which one am I going to sell?
The one with all the cool stuff and it tastes better.
Even though it doesn't taste better, but it's drawn everybody's attention. And it's the same thing with social media and everybody. You got these certain people, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 followers. The music's all right, but they have a lot of attention, a lot of eyes on them. So the label knows, hey, even if I invest $10,000 into this person, I'm probably going to get it back right away. Whereas this other brown cupcake that just doesn't even have a wrapper, it's just like a piece of cake, even though it tastes amazing. Nobody's paying attention to it. So I'm going to have to do much more work. Now I got to spend money on marketing. Now I got to get a wrapper. I got to dress it up. I got to do all this stuff. I got to clean it up. I got to make an ad. I got to do this. And it still might not even sell because everybody's just going, isn't that the brown cupcake? So that's where they're at. So that's why it's like, I'm not saying it's right. I'm also not.
Right.
I can't hate on it because it's a business.
It's a business at the end of the day. Yeah.
As a business owner, there's certain things that I would like for my studio to be. But at the end of the day, I have to understand that I'm catering to a specific clientele. So if that clientele says, I just need auto tune and a mic, who am I to tell them no, that they should use this other $4,000 preamp with the $6,000 compressor? It's not what they want. And I'd be stupid to spend that money on that because they're not going to use it. So I got to be realistic with myself and what my outcome is.
That's a very nice way to put it, because I mean, I've been saying this for quite some time, like it's business. Like they only care about, what looks pretty, what's easy for them to sell, what makes them less work. It's like, oh, this, I don't have to do much work. All right, let's put this guy out. And that's one of the things that's coming up in some of these EDM labels is that they want a whole package. Before it was just make a dope song. All right, you make the dope song. Now we can get a mixing engineer, a master engineer to do whole things and then release this and market it and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. Then later became like, oh my God, it's a dope song. You need to mix and master it on your own. I'm not a mixer. I don't know how to mix and master. I just know how to make music. Well, you gotta do it or else you can't release it. Then you gotta learn how to do those both. So now you're doing production and creating process, mixing and mastering. All right, dope. I got it. Let me see your pull. Oh man, like I don't know. You don't pull that much. We're not taking a risk, man. Sorry, man. And it ain't for us. And that's just basically what it has come down to. It is now is social media became a must. You must have, even though it doesn't have to do anything with production or engineering overall. Like now it's a must. If you have a pull, you have a following, people see that they fuck with you. All right, let's get something out of it. Because another point of view out of all this, and in the label's perspective, is okay, dope. You got a dope song. What's in it for us? Like, why should we play your song? Like, what is it that's so different that some of our label artists can't do? I can ask one of the label artists to do something like this, and they'll do it. So what makes you unique for us to be interested in you and invest on you? And that's another thing, unfortunately.
I mean, it's not unfortunate. It's always been that way. And it's not, I mean, social media is an example of today, but it's always been about how people look is important. So it used to be how they dress you and what your look was and how your marketing was. Now it's all just one thing. And because we have access to it, we think it's not that big a deal, or we think it's stupid because everybody can do it. Because back in the days, you had to have a lot of money to make a commercial.
Yeah.
Now you can just turn your phone around.
Yeah.
You put a
Basically.
filter on it and you can make a commercial for yourself. So it just seems to most of us, it seems like this is dumb. Anybody could do this. But no, it's back to that same thing. Not everybody could do it. Not everybody has the charisma. Not everybody could be Jake Paul.
That's true.
If it was true, then there would be more Jake Pauls. And there's only one Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that he's something that you should try to be, but he's definitely successful at what he does because he knows what he's doing. And why wouldn't, if somebody's trying to make money, why wouldn't they go to the thing that would easily make the most money? That's all it is. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying like people need to be honest with the reality. Like there's no point in trying to fight it.
Yeah.
There's no point in trying to fight it. If you want to fight it, then just don't do it or just do something else. Do your own thing. Go independent.
Right.
You know, figure out a different way to do it. There's people doing that all the time. Go outside and stay outside.
That's why I always encourage people, like, it's better off to do your stuff independent, man, because there's no sense or dwelling just like focus all your eggs on that one basket and hoping that, you know, you're gonna get signed or even looked up and they're not gonna even bother. Just go independent because 9 times out of 10, like your music, if your music is good, it will be heard. Like someone will listen and someone will pay attention. It's always
but that somebody could also be a label. There's nothing wrong with signing to a label and
no, I never said that there's nothing wrong about it. I'm just saying like how it's operating right now and what should benefit you right now the most is focus your time and energy being independent for now and do all the shenanigans, you know, until you know you get recognized.
But some people get offered stuff really early on. Like I've been in plenty of sessions with new artists where like some A&R really believes in this person. They get a budget and they really put money into this person to make it work. And that's a really cool experience. Even if the music doesn't work out, it's a really cool experience. And then afterwards, if you need to go independent, you can go independent. But definitely don't look a gift horse in the mouth. If somebody's offering you money to do something, you should definitely like take it into consideration and see what they're going to do for you and ask lots of questions like, okay, what are you guys going to do for me? What am I going to owe you? How is this going to work?
Right.
What is the outcome that you're expecting from this? Like ask all the questions. If you like the answers, then go for it and get some money and buy yourself, you know, buy your mom a house.
Yeah. Just know that you may actually have to pay that back in a few years or less.
You might, but if you bought the right house, you might gain some equity and the house might pay for it back all by itself.
The only problem to that is that most of the time those people like they see that fast money and they don't think about, you know, having equity on all that stuff or thinking financial future and or investments and stuff like that. And they just
but that's why you need people around you that can talk that talk.
Right.
And you should look out. So you should look out for those people and don't be embarrassed to ask a question that you don't know about. If you don't know what equity is, ask somebody. If you don't know how to do your taxes, ask somebody. Get an accountant. You don't know how to read a contract, find a lawyer. Find somebody who does and ask them. And don't be afraid to ask questions. There are no stupid questions.
No, they're not. They're stupid people, but not stupid questions.
There's definitely stupid people. But those stupid people is really choose not to ask any questions and they remain ignorant. It's a choice. There's no need for that. You have the entire world at your fingertips.
Right.
You can Google shit. You can find out. Word.
To finish up with this topic with the labels. Now, would you agree that now in today's world, now we have much more of the tools and the resources to release your own music rather than to use a label? Do you think?
Yeah. I mean, you could put stuff on DistroKid in like 2 minutes. There's no need for it. There's definitely a pluses to it, but there's no need for it.
And do you think that will that be the end of labels in the future? No. Or do you think
the labels will never end?
Really?
No. Why would they? There's always going to be somebody who wants more money.
I mean, because like now that people have these resources and all that stuff that I can have my own distribution company. I can produce my own music. I can actually keep all these royalties and all of these revenues. Why should I share it with you? You know?
Yeah, because they have a bigger reach. So for instance, you put out a song and you're self-published.
Right.
You can't collect the publishing on that money in India. You have no resources. You'd have to call India and figure out who you have to talk to. You're not going to do that. So you're only collecting your ASCAP or your BMI and whatever sales you do. Nobody's collecting the money from your publishing royalties. And you could have money all around the world and you don't know it. So you could sign up to what's the digital one? So,
TuneCore?
No.
What?
Well, there's Song Trust, which is here. And then there's, I forget what the digital one is called. But yeah, you know, there's certain things that having distribution through, like for instance, If you put a song up on TuneCore, how long does it take for the song actually to go up?
Like a month or so. Like a month, 3 weeks to a month.
If you're on a label can push that through a lot faster because they have their own Apple Store login. You can put the song up tonight and get it up there tomorrow morning.
And when
So
that
there's certain things that can help you. They can create a marketing. They have marketing teams. They have photographers. They have videographers. They have the best mixing engineers and mastering engineers. Like all these things that just add a little bit to your project. The label has access to. And yeah, you could do it yourself, but you might end up with a better product if you go to the label.
I mean, most of the time,
I'm just being the devil's advocate.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. I'm just asking for the perspective. Like if going by all this, then the reason why I go through these distributions is so it could give me time to think about my marketing, how to market my song, and how can properly market it, and then have that ready for pre-save, right? Pre-save. I don't know if I'm saying the word right.
But look at all the things that you're having to think about, and if you're on a label, you don't have to think about anything.
Labels don't just like I got your song, you'll release it next week. Like no, they have to market that. They do have a lineup of songs for them to release.
But they also have a marketing team that right. Doesn't necessarily need you to come up with a marketing plan, but just maybe approve something. They're going to have visual people that don't need you to necessarily come up with the idea, and they probably will accept your input, but they probably will also pitch you on ideas and get the thing done for you. So now you just need to focus on being the artist, which sometimes can be very beneficial. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just want to be in control of the entire thing because maybe you don't think that anybody could execute the way you would do it. And then that's when you do your independent thing. But there's pros and cons to both sides.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I agree. So with that, when it comes to being as a music producer, do you always believe that sound designing for a project, is it a luxury or a necessity?
Again, I think that really depends on if you're like a sound designer guy. Mm-hmm. I think that's like a thing that, I guess every producer in different eras have done it. Like people finding their best samples or like setting up their drum kits. That's still sound design.
Yeah.
I think sometimes if you're sitting there, you're like, oh, I'm going to make 3 kicks and 11 snares for this product. I think that's kind of silly. But if that's how you get inspired, then, I shouldn't say silly because there's probably people who get inspired by doing that. So I retract that statement. For me, it's not something I would ever do because for me, I think a song could be anything. It works both ways. Anything can be a song. But you could write a song today and you like, tomorrow, I think this should be like a dubstep. And all you got to do is change the drums and some of the sounds and it's a dubstep song, right? And then if I take that song and I'm like, it should be an R&B song. I can just change all the drums and change some of the keys and now it's an R&B song. It's still a song.
Right.
It might be a really good song and we might be trying to figure it out. So I think coming in with a preconceived notion as what the song is going to be is bad. And you should just let the song come out and be whatever it wants to be. Instead of you trying to make it fit in some sort of box because you made a bunch of sounds that you think are cool. Fuck your beat. Is the song good?
If it's good,
it could work. It would work in any genre. Mm-hmm. But if you're so focused on, damn, is my beat, is my kick good, is my snare good, you're not worried about the right thing. The song has to be good.
I agree. 2 more questions and we can wrap this up right now. What are you currently doing and what do you hope to accomplish now in the future?
Currently, I'm teaching a lot of people Pro Tools. I'm mixing an album by an artist named J Nix, who's here out of South Florida. I'm doing a bunch of Music Expo seminars once a month. I'll do one on the 12th of, I don't know when this is coming out, but on the 12th of August. And then there'll be another one in September where I'm doing like a master class. Just like mixing random stuff here and there and, doing sessions still on a lot of local studios. I think I have a session on Saturday, vocals.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question and we can end this. Let's just say that there's a mothership from outside this world and it comes over to you and tells you, hey, Frank, we need your help because only you can give us the sickest beats and the sickest engineering with our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to be out for a long time. But before you leave, they tell you, here's a piece of paper, here's a pen, write 3 pieces of advice to someone that can actually learn from this. What are those 3 pieces of advice that you'll give to someone?
Follow your gut, make time for yourself, and respect yourself.
I like that. Respect yourself, because that's actually a very important, because I've seen a lot of people that, they don't have any dignity, and they let themselves, run over through the mud.
If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will.
Yeah.
So you got to respect yourself first.
I agree. So that's very important. And just be happy with yourself. Be happy with what you're doing, man. And make sure that you're not living in a fantasy world that you're gonna be the next Martin Garrix type shit. Like, no, just be down to earth. Know that what you're doing is it exactly what you're doing? Does it make you happy? Are you gonna achieve it? Go for it. Just do it. Just move forward with it. Just stop eating shit and just move forward with it. Well, thank you very much, Frank, for all this, man. I really appreciate for you to come over to this. Before we leave,
Thanks,
plug yourself out. Let the people know where they can follow you and follow your stuff, and anything that's coming up on our way.
Instagram, Alphabet Music, ALPHABEATMUSIC. Same thing on Twitter. Follow me on either there. I post pretty regularly, and I'm pretty sarcastic. I'm a jerk, so you can follow me there if you want to hear some audio jokes. Go to Music Expo at Music Expo SF on Instagram and follow them as well. I do a lot of stuff with them. They always do cool seminars. And hit me up, DM me if you want to learn some Pro Tools or if you have some mixing questions. I always respond to the DMs. And then once a month we do mixing seminars where people submit their songs and I critique their mixes live on the air. So we're doing one this Thursday, and we do them every month. Just follow me on Instagram. I usually post the pics and stuff when it's happening. So.
Dope. Well, thank you very much, Frank, for coming in. It's an honor, a privilege to have you here, man. You're a friend of the show, man. Thank you guys for listening. And remember, every week is a brand new episode with a brand new topic. So be sure to like and subscribe for your weekly episodes at the Lone Wolv Podcast for SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. And of course, the YouTube channel at lonewolfpod.com. That's Lone, WOLV, pod.com, where you can check all my latest episodes. Comment down below. Let me hear your thoughts. Share your experience. If you guys got a certain topic that you want me to cover or you want Frank to cover on the next episode, please let me know on the comments down below. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys at the next one. Peace.